when I say American empire was real and it was spectacular, there's actually a very good book called Tomorrow the World, which puts a finger on the exact moment when the U.S. decided to become an empire, right? It was actually 1939, 1940. See, up till that point, the conventional wisdom has been among Americans, let the British run an empire. That's expensive, that's troublesome, and so on. Let them do all that stuff. We're just going to build up our strength at home, right? However, after the fall of France in 1939 at the hands of the Nazis, a bunch of Americans realized, wait a second, if we don't build an empire, the Nazis will, or maybe the Soviets will, and then they're going to blockade us with sea lanes, all this kind of stuff, right? So you realize, actually, there's no, if we don't play for number one, someone else will get the crown. So a bunch of intentional decisions were taken at that point to actually gear America into something it had not been before, which is global empire, okay? So the reason for that, by the way, is obviously you don't become global number one in every category by accident.
Right? No, you don't.
Right? You don't,
Yes.
right? So there's a bunch of Americans who are in this weird mental state where they're like, America's global number one and all this stuff. And oh, by the way, we didn't mean to do that. It just kind of happened. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So clearly there was intent by at least some people to set a bunch of institutions there. For example, with the UN, it's set up in such a way that, yes, everybody has a vote, but there's the 5 Security Council members. And oh, by the way, it's in New York City. So guess what? They can have all kinds of surveillance apparatus. They can monitor, camera, photograph everybody going there, blah, blah, blah. So they have a backdoor into the UN, right? Okay. So American empire was real and was spectacular. And from 1991 to the present day, the U.S. was basically the most dominant empire of all time, right? And, the largest military. And this is when the left and the right of America worked together well, because the left did the diplomacy, because it's really hard. But if you've ever gotten 10 people to sign something, right? Then imagine how hard it is to get 10 companies to sign something. Now imagine how hard it is to get 10 countries to sign something. And now imagine how hard it is to get every country in the world to sign something. That was the skill of American diplomats, to get like global consensus on things like, WTO or the UN, like getting all of these people to sign on the line that was dotted, non-trivial, okay? Very underrated. And once you start thinking about diplomacy in terms of business negotiation, and then when that broke down, of course, they had their powerful military, right? So they had, they'd punch them until they signed.